Tonight, the Sweet 16 begins. Having survived the round of 32, only 16 bots remain. First, a rematch of a battle that ended in disaster. After that, two of the deadliest rookies in the competition duke it out. Plus, the number one seed comes out with a daring strategy.
I'm gonna beat his face in.
It's all coming up tonight on Bashbots, the round of 16.
Oh my word!
Hello everybody and welcome back to Bashbots. I am your host, the Dominus Ignis, and tonight we begin the round of 16. 48 robots started off this tournament and now only the toughest remain. Tonight we will see 4 teams move on to the quarterfinals and 4 more get sent home. They will be hoping to raise this, the giant wrench, etching their names in the history books as the Season 3 Bashbots champion. Taking a look at the bracket, we can see our remaining robots. In Quadrant 1, we will see a battle of the verts between Tranquilizer and Type 29. And right below that, a tense control battle in between the 8 and 9 seeds Mars and Tenderlove. On the right hand side of the bracket in Quad 2, the rampaging tournament favourite Amethyst will be looking to claim his next victim in the form of Tracker, to take on either Cosmo or Liberator. Quad 3 will see 2 very interesting battles as a Season 2 rematch takes place between Thunderwave and Migronic, and we see the first full fight appearance of both Claymore and Atlas. Looking at Quadrant number 4, the 2 champions look set on a collision course for the quarterfinals as Polis takes on Cyberstorm and Sparks takes on Sucker Punch. We're going to get things going with a rematch between the 3 and 14 seeds as Thunderwave and Migronic duke it out for a spot in the quarterfinals. Let's take a look at how they made it to this stage of the tournament. After destroying Irod in the qualifiers, Thunderwave faced off against Ace 5 in the round of 32. The Flipper had defeated 1 overhead spinner so far, but it was no match for Thunderwave as hit after hit, chunks were torn off of Ace 5 until nothing remained, and Thunderwave won by knockout. Migronic won a judge's decision against Navigator in the first round before being matched up against Firewave. In a losing battle, all hope looked lost for the Flipper until the dying seconds of the fight, as one perfectly lined flip sent Firewave soaring out of the arena and out of the tournament. Let's send it down to the damn Beaver to break down the fight.
It's time for the top 16, and considering how much you all loved seeing Migronic take down a nasty opponent which beaten in seasons past, he matched it up against another one. You may remember that last year, Thunderwave tore Migronic limb from limb. So what's new this time? Well, Migronic has a thicker wedge, and this being robot combat, especially Battlebots being the unpredictable, insane competition that it is, that thicker wedge could make all the difference. Or Thunderwave could tear right through it with no issues, but there's only one way to find out, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's robot fighting time! Let's bring out the bots! In the red square from the USA, it's older than some of our viewers, it's Thunderwave!
And here comes Thunderwave to kick off our round of 16, and they have a familiar foe here. They're more than acquainted with Migronic. They fought in Season 2, but this is how they kicked off the round of 32 in destructive fashion.
In the blue square from the Netherlands, with a wedge so thick it should be over the weight limit, it's Migronic!
And here is said opponent. Migronic is back again for revenge. It's beaten one of the waves, Fire, in one of the most eye-catching wins of this tournament up to this point. Migronic will be looking to get revenge again, this time over the number 3 seed.
another flipper, another wedge with flat sides I can catch. So I'm gonna try and do that. Hit him to the side as much as possible. Hopefully get to his chassis, maybe get a wheel off. Maybe flip him upside down if that even is possible. But yeah, just keep hitting his sides as much as I can.
Okay, so I'm fighting Thunderwave, which is a rematch from Series 2. I'm getting a lot of rematches. So, strategy is kind of the same as with Firewave, only Thunderwave is a bit more like out of control, and it's a bit easier to get it like to bounce out of the arena. That's more of the strategy this time, but if I can get him flipped over, it would be very nice.
Well, Migronic, they got revenge on Firewave from Season 1. Can they get revenge on Thunderwave from Season 2? It just writes itself, doesn't it? But this is an even more frightening foe.
A place in the quarterfinals is on the line. Thunderwave and Migronic with the first engagement, and you can tell that this is a fight where both machines want it. And Migronic is going to try and do that aggressive but defensive game plan that it carried out to perfection last time.
Somehow propped into the air there, but this would be the story of the season if Migronic was able to pull this one off against the number 3 seed. I think if they can take down Firewave and Thunderwave, there might be nothing that can stop them. For now, they're doing pretty well defensively. They just need to get some deliberate attacks in.
Little flick up there on Thunderwave. Those prongs of Thunderwave could prove a problem there, but evidently not if they get in behind. That was a really good throw from Migronic. And now it will look to come in and stifle Thunderwave again.
Thunderwave tried to call its bluff with that last-minute turn to the side, but Migronic stayed head-on. They were willing to charge those forks, but now they're taking damage.
Migronic again losing some rear panels. It's lost both. It lost one in the last fight, and now it's been deflected aside. Migronic here needs to not drown when the going gets tough. It needs to compose itself. Well, both machines have gone flying there, and now the fight is all up in the air, quite literally.
Are they struggling for some kind of mobility? They've certainly been shaky. Maybe it's just the nerves kicking in. They seem to be making strides across the arena now. The pit will be opening, and that certainly benefits Migronic more than Thunderwave as they go over, but that Rematch relatively reliable, not the quickest. They involuntarily opened the pit there, but when near that arena wall.
Migronic, you can tell it's a dangerous machine these days, but again, Thunderwave has always been that, the number 3 seed for a reason. At the moment, that big damage to those rear panels could be the key. But that's exactly what we said with a minute to play in Migronic's last fight. Is history going to repeat itself?
I think if I could shout any advice into the driver's booth, those forks on Thunderwave can be ripped off. They are vulnerable, and that would be just about the only way I can think of for Migronic to score some key damage points in this. But maybe they won't need the judges. Thunderwave perilously close to the pit, but they've managed to get away.
Inches away from another miraculous win there from Migronic, and now does it sense blood? Can it come up with a miraculous opening here on Thunderwave? Thunderwave there just looked a little bit static for a second, but that's a really meaty hit. And Migronic
struggling to get its bearings here.
Oh.
This is so much better than they ever did in Season 2, but it looks like it is one of the judges, and that's a gigantic hit from Thunderwave. No Uta in the last 2 seconds here. This time it does go the distance on another close fight between Migronic and one of the elemental waves. But certainly this is going to be a hard one to call. Thunderwave, with all the damage, they kept all their forks intact. Definitely no damage to really speak of, apart from a bit of that internal clattering. Migronic, they did a good job with the control, maybe it could have been a little bit better. Sometimes reserved after a big hit and they didn't go back in for more. Thunderwave maybe with the slight edge, especially after that hit, but who knows?
The judges' results are in. We have a unanimous decision. The winner is Thunderwave!
And winning by judges' decision, Thunderwave moves on to the next round while Migronic puts in their best tournament run to date. Thunderwave will be facing the winner of our next fight as Atlas and Claymore battle it out for a spot in the quarters. Let's meet the teams and see how they made it to this stage of the tournament.
Oh, this is absolutely brutal.
After an unsuccessful Season 2 campaign as part of the God Squad team, the Roboteer went solo this year and built a front hinge flipper bot called Claymore based on a design from RA2. He absolutely dominated his qualifying round fight, flipping Orca out of the fight early on and earning the number 6 seed. He then proved this wasn't just a fluke by doing the exact same thing to Catch in the round of 32. A rookie to Bashbots, but by no means a rookie to the sport, Freeman enters the Bashbots with a robot part of the next generation of Gary's mod designs. One of 6 robots in the competition to use the same method. Atlas was designed completely in 3D CAD software before being imported in-game for a precision-perfect design. It looks like it's worked out too, dominating both of its opponents in the qualifiers and round of 32.
In the red square from England, the fact that we're only seeing this robot now really speaks a lot. It's Claymore! In the blue square from England, with forks almost as steep as a cliff, it's Atlas!
So I've been pretty nervous before every fight, although my previous 2 went pretty well, but this one I think is going to be a bit harder. It's a very good robot, it's a very good driver. As always, my strategy is going to be to try and get him out of the arena, but his wedge, I know his wedge is pretty good. Control bot, I'm a big giant thing that should be pretty easy to control, so I've just got to hope I can outdrive him.
I'm staying the fuck away from the walls. I'm not letting him flip me out. I'm staying away from the drums because if he gets my side panels, that's 5-0 damage. I'm not having that. It's not happening. All right.
Well, 2 somewhat unfamiliar faces here in the round of 16. Both of them are Bashbots rookies. Claymore the favourite as the 6th seed, but this could go either way.
Well, it's a rookie face-off for a place in the final 8. Very open season this is. And it's Atlas who just prized underneath Claymore in the opening seconds of this fight.
Yes, and it's amazing to see just how low they are. Claymore so low that they were creating sparks off the floor there. But Atlas is reliably getting under them, and that's a great drive into the arena corner. That is one of the zones where someone could be flipped out. But we heard the driver's strategy. He wants to keep away from those walls, even if potentially it could give him the chance to win. Well, that's a great flip.
Really controlled, composed stuff here at the moment from Atlas. It's just suffocating Claymore with that really long front. And Atlas is just so close in that Claymore really can't position itself properly. Again, the front wedge of Claymore just rides up the front of Atlas. It's been a really good start from the number 11 seed here. But there's the response we were waiting for. Claymore with a flip over.
Now that was a good 30 plus seconds of dominance from Atlas. Claymore's moment of opportunity was a lot shorter as Atlas returns the favour and gets them back into that corner with a great lift. They said before the match they wanted to stay the something away from the arena wall. But they've spent most of the match here, but I can't blame them because they've been in control the entire time here.
Goodness me, that's 2 or 3 times now that Atlas has carried out this long front lift over of Claymore and then rolling it onto its back and driving it across the arena. It's beautiful to watch. And here we go again. This is just expert stuff from the number 11 seed again.
Oh, they nearly went over that wall. This is totally unfamiliar territory with Claymore. They've won both of their previous matches now by getting a robot over that arena wall. But here, they're the ones in the most danger. But we've still got a minute left on the clock. They could spring this back at any moment.
They might need an Uta now to claw this victory out, because points-wise, Atlas really is on top. The time is slowly ticking away, and Atlas, it just keeps getting a grip of Claymore in any way possible, in ways which I didn't think were possible. It really is impressive stuff. Whoa!
And on to the grind as it goes. They wanted to stay away from that, and that will be some damage to that top mechanism of Atlas. And now they're getting thrust into the wall as well. We said we needed something like an Uta, maybe a really strong final minute from Claymore could swing it. But they've let up that opportunity once again as Atlas hooks under that flipper there to drive it across the blocks.
Some very unorthodox, unique but brilliant moments of driving in this match. 15 seconds to play as Atlas just tries to smother out the life of Claymore's attempted fight back here. 8 seconds, 7, both machines just keeping their distance. Atlas with another gorgeous little lift, and that will be time.
Fantastic match from both sides. You have to think one of these robots maybe had a bit of an advantage, but maybe the judges are going to like those big flips. Let's have another look at that match. This was mainly the tail of the tape as we saw Atlas with that lower front clearance, and whenever they got under Claymore, no matter how slippery of a machine it may be, Atlas just kept up that control and wouldn't give the opponent any time to breathe. Certainly there were moments of danger by the arena wall, but Claymore did do that little bit of damage, which is something Atlas can't say for itself. Maybe it is closer than we thought.
The results from the judges are in. The winner by unanimous decision is Atlas!
And winning by judges' decision, Freeman and Atlas secure their spots in the quarterfinals to face Thunderwave. It's time for the third fight of the night as Tenderlove and Mars battle it out for a spot in the next round. Let's take a look at how these teams made it to this stage. Being another robot made completely in CAD software, Mars proved its worth in its first 2 fights. In the qualifiers it faced Stripes, where it dominated the fight before flipping it out of the arena. In the round of 32 it did much the same, absorbing the spinner blows from Tankoff before flipping them out of the arena. Neroli and Tenderlove fought a close control battle with R4 in the qualifiers but came out victorious. They then fought an even closer battle in the round of 32, just edging out a judge's decision against the flipper of Slapshots.
In the red square from England, it's a moving doorstop. No, wait, it's Mars! In the blue square from England, looking like an animated construction site, it's Tenderlove!
The strategy for fighting Tenderlove is try and outmaneuver him. He's got the fork flipper. You can get to the sides. Hopefully it's a better wedge than the standard version, which in my testing has been amazingly good. Gotta try and get the flip straight out of the arena and hope that ends it.
I'm basically doomed. My Tenderlove's wedge this year isn't as good as last year. Jace is a very good driver, and he's improved his robot to have forks on the flipper, so I'm unlikely to ever get underneath him. Now will probably be when I go out the tournament, to be honest.
Another flipper in the path of Tenderlove and another very unfavourable matchup in the eyes of its builder, but he did manage to overcome Slapshot. Can he do it with the even tougher opponent, Mars?
Eight v 9, Mars v Tenderlove. Tenderlove.
And under Mars
Yes.
goes Tenderlove. That's not what the builder was expecting by any means.
I was about to point out the exact same thing myself. Mars's little front prongs on the end of that launcher breached the first in this opening 20. Who can get the first attack of note? Well, it's a bit of a flick over rather than a full launch from Mars. As Tenderlove gets and angles to that rear and now lifts over. This is what Tenderlove is so good at, just smothering all angles of the opposition here, trying to come through again.
Yeah, for me that's a little more meaningful. Let it be reminded, the builder of Tenderlove said that he was doomed, and this is where he would be exiting the tournament. Well, that attitude got you nearly to the grand final in Season 2, so keep it up, I guess. But meanwhile, Mars making a bit of a comeback here. That's a good flip to put them back in the running.
Yeah, Tenderlove just getting hung up there around near our pit release button, which obviously isn't active just yet. Oh, and there's that front blade of Tenderlove causing some awkward issues for both machines there as they are entangled, and Tenderlove then hangs that grate out the back. But no real attack carried out there in the end from either.
Certainly, this is just a curious one. They keep testing those wedge-to-wedge interactions, never so much going around for the sides, but you might as well go head-on when it seems like a 50-50 random chance. Just see what you get. Bank your chips.
Oh, Mars chucks itself over there. And Tenderlove couldn't take advantage though, as Mars quickly righted itself as our yawning, gaping pit is now in play and active. There really hasn't been an attack of note here so far. A couple of cuddling little flicks and flings.
That's a nice little suplex though from Tenderlove. That's probably one of the most meaningful attacks we've seen in this bout. It has been a tentative one, but that's a great response from Tenderlove to get flipped over and then just carry on their own attack anyway. And a huge slam into the grinder. Again, there's been so little damage between the flipper and the lifter that those arena hazard uses are gonna matter unless we end up with a robot in the pit.
Mars has suddenly come through with a rally of flips there. Tenderlove generally has had the more varied and controlled attacks, but Mars very aggressive in a couple of its ones as it nearly gets beached on its back there.
Scooping up there, going for a flip towards the corner. Mars got to be careful not to self-right into danger. They actually got away extremely well, it has to be said, but they miss an opportunity to flip. They've got one anyway, though. This is close.
Very, very close. Mars has been on its back a few times here, and that's a really good suplex to maybe close out the fight with, but then Mars responds with a flick as well. Oh,
that might have been even closer than the slapshot match. Another brilliant encounter, tactical all the way. So I guess if you're a judge, you can almost compare this one directly to Tenderlove versus Slapshot. Did Mars get more flips than Slapshot? I would say yes. How do the flips weigh up in comparison? They were probably a little smaller, but they are still more dramatic attacks than Tenderlove's lifting mechanism can put up. Who used the hazards more? Perhaps Tenderlove. Who won more interactions? Again, Tenderlove. But this one's even harder to call.
The judges' results are in! We have a 23-22 split decision! The winner is... Mars!
And winning by judges' decision, Mars moves on to the quarterfinals to fight the winner of the final fight between Type 29 and Tranquilizer. Before that though, we're going to send it back down to the Dan Beaver for the first ever post-match analysis to explain why the judges went with Mars for the last fight.
So, Mars versus Tenderlove. As you just saw, it was a brilliant fight, but some of the builders back in the pits disagrees with the decision, and I'm sure it's not too hard to believe that some of our viewers at home also disagree as well. In the end, it came down to a 23-22 split decision between the three judges, the closest a decision could be. They all agreed on one thing, control, giving Tenderlove 3 points and Mars 2 points in that category for a total control score of 9-6. Tenderlove was certainly the one getting underneath Mars more often, so it goes without saying that they managed to control the pace much more during the fight. The difference was made in the other two categories, however, aggression and damage. Let's start off with damage. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that there were no spinners in this fight, which makes damage so much harder to judge. It came down to what the judges viewed it as, really. Two of our judges believe that Tenderlove's use of the drums halfway through the fight warranted a 3-2 score in their favour, while the third judge believed that the flipping attacks from Mars dealt more damage on landing for Tenderlove, giving Mars 3-2. The total damage points came out to 8-7 in Tenderlove's favour, so right now Tenderlove's winning, right? Well, this is where aggression comes in, and this is what ultimately swung the fight. All three judges agreed that Mars was the more aggressive robot throughout the fight, making more attempts to attack Tenderlove despite not getting under every time. If they had all given this category 3-2, then Tenderlove would have won the fight, but they didn't. One of the three judges saw the barrage of attacks from Mars in the closing stages of the fight as enough to give them an extra point of aggression, making their tally 4-1, and thus the total aggression points 10-5 for Mars. So this then resulted in two judges having Mars winning 8-7 and one having Tenderlove winning 8-7. You put them all together, you have Mars winning 23-22. Ultimately, Mars won the fight.
Now it's time for the final fight of the night. The number 1 seed Tranquilizer will take on the number 16 seed Type 29. So let's catch up with the teams. After setting the competition on fire, literally, Bone Man Ace and his robot Tranquilizer secured the number 1 seed following a dominant performance against Monochrome. They then faced Hondatron in the round of 32 and made quick work of the flipper, moving on to the next round. Moonset and his robot Type 29 squared off against Slapshot in the qualifiers and won a judge's decision after 3 minutes of tossing the flipper around. He then fought a close battle against Ryukishin in the round of 32 with no robot seemingly getting the upper hand. They won a close judge's decision and moved on to the round of 16. Let's send it down to our match analyst to break down the fight.
There's a lot to be said for a good, strong, powerful vertical spinner. And like most other robot combat competitions nowadays, we have no shortage of them here at Bashbots. Amber, Cosmo, but here are two of the best, ready to go head to head with nothing to lose. So looking at previous fights, Tranquilizer has the weapon power down pat, outranking Type 29 in that stat, as well as all of the others. But I wouldn't take that as a sign to count out our favourite Chinese representative just yet. Type 29 boasts one of, if not the lowest wedge in the competition, meaning that with good driving and not leaving themselves exposed, the upset is never an impossibility.
In the red square from Lithuania, we're not sure why this robot's not just called Clank again. It's Tranquilizer!
And out comes the number 1 seed, the one to beat. This is Tranquilizer. They've got that little vertical spinner, but the robot itself is so big, so imposing, and so powerful. They're the ones to beat.
In the blue square from China, apparently having 28 other revisions is paying dividends, it's Type 29!
And in comes the number 16 seed. Tranquilizer has the little but devastating weapon. Type 29 has the big and bold weapon, also capable of mass destruction. Can it pull off a big win here? Underrated maybe in seeding, but this is a big ask either way.
I'm gonna be just facing.
Like it's been said, number 1 seed versus number 16 almost undersells this one. I think this is a relatively even match. Two great spinners and two great wedges.
It's the big and the bold versus the small and explosive. Oh, Nasa.
And explosive it was from the small blade. That bit's coming off of Type 29. This isn't good for them at all. Look at that.
Goodness me. Oh my lord. Type 29 hasn't been on its wheels since the bell has gone from the start of this one. And Tranquilizer showing off from the off here why it is the number 1 seed, but there is the response from Type 29 that we know and it has the potential to do.
Yes, we can't understate that is one of the lowest wedges in the competition, and it's 1 out again. Tranquilizer fairly reliable at self-righting, but they're struggling here. They just get back onto their wheels. That opening assault was so good, but now Type 29 has definitely landed more hits in this stage, and it's only getting worse.
Very, very impressive stuff from the number 16 seed. Relentlessly dominated at first, and now just as dominant a reply. Really high quality stuff in the opening minute here.
This Tranquilizer, they've got work to do to bring this one back, and they are putting it in there. You know, in Bashbots history, we've already had some massively dominant number 1 seeds. They've always been such candidates to take it all over again. Tranquilizer is somewhat of a new from a familiar builder, but now they are asserting themselves as the dominant force in this fight. That entire wedge is gone.
Wow! The pit button's enabled, and Type 29 might want to go down there if this sudden exertion from Tranquilizer continues, because it is really gaining a head of steam, shattering, flying, spiraling. Tranquilizer here, absolutely ruthless, and Type 29 is falling for pieces.
Gosh, they are just about still active, but I don't think they'll be using this chassis again in the tournament, even if they do win somehow. This is looking a bit of a write-off.
Stuck.
And right you are, they are stuck on that arena wall, and we're going for a count-out. Maybe they could use the gyro forces to ease their way back off, but they seem unable to do so. And that is a knockout for the number 1 seed. Tranquilizer moves on.
What a high quality fight that was. Goodness. Barely remnant.
So showing exactly why there was such a seeding difference between the two. They may be similar designs, and sure enough, Type 29 in that second minute, they had some really good attacks in to show that they could have pulled off the upset potentially, but it came down to damage, and Tranquilizer just caused more of it. And once Type 29 was left as a remnant of its former self, it could not get off the arena wall, and that was it.
And winning by utter destruction once again, Tranquilizer moves on to the quarterfinals to fight the Flipperbot Mars. Tonight we filled half of the 8 slots in the quarterfinals. Thunderwave, Atlas, Mars and Tranquilizer have all moved on, while Migronic, Claymore, Tenderlove and Type 29 will all be going home. That's all from us tonight here at Bashbots, and we thank you all so much for watching. Join us next time when our round of 16 will conclude. Until then, good night.
Next time on Bashbots, the round of 16 concludes. Tournament favorites look to take the next step to glory. Underdogs look to take down the big dogs. And a battle of the flippers for the final spot in the quarterfinals. It's all coming up next time on Bashbots.